The FIFA World Cup is one of the biggest events on Earth, attracting 5 billion viewers worldwide. But what happens to the stadiums left behind when that attention shifts again? In this video, we'll look at the alarming situation with World Cup stadiums in Russia, Brazil and South Africa and examine how Qatar plans to deal with this situation and why they have already started deconstructing one of their stadiums. In the last 10 years, modern stadiums, cutting-edge training facilities, and improved transportation infrastructure have all been built by Qatar for the World Cup. In total, they spent more than $200 billion, an enormous sum that is far more than any other host has ever spent. This is mainly due to the fact that Qatar had to build the majority of this infrastructure from scratch 4 years prior. Russia spent closer to $16 billion, and Brazil spent $20 billion in 2014. However, even $20 billion is a significant sum. The transportation links could give formerly desolate areas new life, and stadiums could begin to break even by hosting events and concerts. When we look at the history of World Cup stadiums, it doesn't paint a very good picture. Vision vibrant venues outliving their original purpose only sometimes comes true. We'll discuss Qatar's other plans later, but let's first examine what they are making such a big effort to avoid. What transpired in previous World Cups was foreign, so Russia upgraded 3 existing venues and built 9 new stadiums in preparation for the 2018 World Cup. When the World Cup concluded, Russia decided to rent these stadiums to domestic football teams. This was an obvious move because stadiums were designed to host matches and the ticket sales would help to pay the running costs. However, this strategy failed because Russia's teams aren't well supported, and most of them struggled to sell even half the tickets. The stadiums have been compared to white elephants because they are expensive, pointless, and burdensome, and taxpayers are paying the price. When the Kaliningrad Stadium turned into a swamp a year after the World Cup, it cost almost $1 million to save it. From a financial standpoint, it would have been better just to let the stadium collapse. Only one of Russia's 9 brand new stadiums has a prosperous afterlife. A multi-purpose venue, Kazan Arena now hosts football games, concerts, car shows, and fashion events. Additionally, it has a hotel, bars, and restaurants. The stadium was transformed into something entirely new, which may be the secret to long-term success, but was it the same in other nations? Brazil, which hosted the World Cup 40 years prior to Russia, has stadiums that tell a similar tale. There are thousands of empty seats, the majority of which are used by domestic teams. Brazil is an avid football nation, but its stadiums are too big to fill. The most striking example is the Arena to Amazonia in the outlying city of Manaus. It is intended to hold 40,000 people, but the local team only draws crowds of up to 1,000. As a result, the stadium is losing money at an alarming rate, more than $200,000 per month, in a desperate attempt to cover costs. The Estadio Nacional, a different World Cup venue, has recently served as a bus shelter, while the arena, when we consider that some of these stadiums only hosted 4 World Cup matches, Das Dunas attempt to generate revenue by hosting weddings and kids' parties sounds even worse. Was all of this work worth it for only 6 hours of football? Brazilian taxpayers disagree, believing that a quarter of the population lives in poverty, and would rather see their money used in other areas rather than on losing stadiums. Brazilian journalist José Cruz succinctly put it in 2015. The only World Cup legacy I can see for Brazil is the debts we have inherited from when the tournament was held in South Africa 4 years prior. These stadiums are performing marginally better than those in Russia and Brazil. In addition to hosting events and concerts, the Moses Madiba Stadium in the city of Durban now serves as a multi-purpose venue. Visitors can take a sky car up to the top of the central arch and even go bungee jumping while there. Not all of South Africa's stadiums are successful. There have even been calls to demolish the 65,000-seat Cape Town Stadium, and it might only be a matter of time. The stadium has never made a profit. When Amnesty International revealed serious exploitation of migrant workers in 2013, many of these workers were paid poorly or not at all, and were forced to work in hazardous physical conditions in 2021. An investigative report by The Guardian, Qatar was keen to learn from the mistakes of previous World Cups. This is especially true after their bid was mired in controversy and nearly 30 FIFA officials were forced to resign after evidence of corruption and bribery. What plans does Qatar have for its World Cup stadiums? To put it in perspective, the existence of 8 enormous stadiums would be absurd for a country as small as Qatar, which is home to only 400,000 Qataris. The stadiums can accommodate up to 420,000 people. Qatar won't try to fill their World Cup stadiums. Instead, they want to transform them. Russia has 140 million people, while Brazil has 220 million people. If these countries can't fill their World Cup stadiums, Qatar won't stand a chance. The 2 biggest stadiums, Lusail and Al Bayt, will be renovated into contemporary multi-use spaces. At Lusail Stadium, the majority of the seats will be removed to make room for shops, cafes, a school, a health clinic, and perhaps even some apartments. Similar changes will be made to Al Bayt, which will become a 5-star hotel, shopping center, and hospital. In both stadiums, the playing surface will remain in the center of the other amenities, but it will primarily be used to host community events rather than competitive football games. 3 more stadiums, Ahmad bin Ali Al Janab and Al Tumama Stadium, will continue to be used for football matches, but only after the venues are drastically reduced in size. In all 3 cases, the capacity will be reduced from 45,000 down to 20,000 by removing temporary seating. A similar tactic was used in Russia with temporary stands crammed at the end of the Ekaterinburg Central Stadium. Qatar plans to give the temporary seating to other nations who want to upgrade their sporting facilities. Stadium 974 is the most innovative solution of all. It is a completely temporary venue, the first of its kind in World Cup history, built using 974 recycled shipping containers, and it can be completely dismantled and rebuilt again. The downsized 20,000-seater stadiums will likely struggle to fill up because the Qatari Football League occasionally draws crowds as small as a couple hundred people, but the stadium can be completely dismantled and rebuilt again. It's a novel approach to sports infrastructure that future World Cups might use rather than constructing brand new stadiums in each host nation. Instead, a collection of temporary stadiums could be transported from one location to another. Brazil did in 2016, when they hosted the Summer Olympics and used 5 of their former World Cup stadiums. Qatar is also planning to use its World Cup infrastructure to host some future events. However, after the Olympics were over, the situation remained largely unchanged. In 2024, Qatar will host the Asian Cup, an international football tournament for teams in Asia and Oceania. They will also host the 2030 Asian Games, an international athletics tournament, along with the December 5th match between Brazil and South Korea. Stadium 974 was deconstructed. According to rumors, the stadium's pieces will be shipped to Uruguay, which is bidding to host the 2030 World Cup. If you think mobile stadiums are a good idea, let us know. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next video.